Hello, hello, hello. It's Dr. Rowe. Now, this is a message to all of you who are in management. Are you in management? Do you deal with teams? Are you building a team? Have you been now recently been promoted or in a situation where you're managing people? If that's the case, you're going to love this particular video. Now, do you like my image behind me? It's all about teamwork. And the key thing here is about trust in teams. Now, I wrote this down actually because it's a question that seems to be coming up a lot for people that are either going into that role or maybe have been thrown into it and are struggling to keep trust. Particularly in the last year, as I'm recording this now, COVID has fractured a lot of teams up and people are having to come back together remotely from the different locations, but they're sort of hanging out in Zoom, and new teams coming together may not have built a rapport with each other yet to develop that trust, which is also challenging. So communication is such a subtle thing that you as an individual, as a manager, if you just, you're 1 degree off, somebody can just watch, listen and go, do I trust that person? Or it might be that the communication within the team, there might be a mistrust across the team. So let me give you 4 things that I think you'll find extremely useful. I've used this over the years. I'm just going to pull this up for you. With countless people, I mean, literally, we're talking about all over the world now. I've been privileged to talk and to bring these kind of subjects to the table. And even back into my late 20s, which is going back a long time now, I'm 55, I was going through this with people. Now, one of the things that you've got to remember with any team, as we can see here behind me, is that if you're at managerial level, people tend to model you. So the way your business will operate, or the way your company or your structure will operate, is that whatever the leadership is doing, if it's done with a strong set of ethics, strong set of values, and it's demonstrated physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, communicatively, then what will happen is people will model that. And that's what you want. You want people within the company to model the core values you're bringing to the table. Communication, great communication, of course, being one of those. So that's the first thing to appreciate. And it's the same thing with any family. It's the same thing with children. It's built into us to aspire to or to model other people that we think have a great set of values that we connect with, but also give us some inspiration. So I really want to emphasize that point first. Building trust in teams doesn't come from you going, right, how can I communicate in such a way to get them to trust me? Actually, the trust comes from you demonstrating the qualities of what trust is. Now, a great exercise to do is to sit down and actually take the time to actually work out for you what it means to build trust, to trust somebody. When do you feel like you trust another person? If you had a leadership or leaders around you, how do you know that you trust those people? What have they demonstrated to you in order for you to feel like you trust them? And then within a team, how do people trust each other? If you can write those things down first, it's really important, because that allows you to essentially communicate those things through yourself. One of the things that I do, this is this is what I call my CWI manual. It's something that certain people have managed to acquire from me over the years, who have had close contact with me. And this is 38 components I have in the system. And interestingly enough, in the system itself, without going into detail, is a section called preparation. Now, within preparation, you have to really get clear on what your message is. In order to do that, you've got to understand what you want your team to be able to feel trustworthy about. So what is it? What's the outcome you want to have from your communications? What are the trust elements that you want to build? Is it trust of being able to lean on each other? Is it you want them to trust that you're going to steer the company in the right direction or their team in the right direction? Is it trust that you trust in them enough to each do their own role? That's another important aspect as well, because remember, it's like, my boss doesn't trust me. Okay, he trusts her and he trusts him and he trusts her and he trusts him, doesn't trust me. So it's just getting a sense of what you feel the areas are that you need to build, or where the trust is breaking down, or which elements of trust are breaking down, because trust is such a broad word, isn't it? Can they trust that when you say something, you're going to see it through? So these are all aspects of trust. Now, first thing is you've got to behave that way and get them to model you. So if you understand the definition in your mind of what trust is and within a team, you can then start to show up that way and let them know that. Say, look, this is how I want our business to operate, our team to operate. I want to be authentic with you. I want you to be able to trust me. These are some of the qualities I believe about trust within a team. articulate. That's a powerful exercise. It works every single time that I've been in groups doing this. And even when I'm doing live events, I ask for a strong connection with my audience. And I say, look, I want you to trust me that I'm going to be direct with you. Will you allow me to do that? And then will you be the same with me? Second thing is connection. So one of the massive parts of my system is getting connection with the other person. And for a lot of people, they're so focused on themselves and how do I get my information right? How do I show up, look professional, come across, that they forget to connect with the other person. So this comes down to two aspects: authenticity and building rapport. So remember, for your team to feel they can trust each other, there's got to be some base level of connection between each other. And you've got to create the environment for that. Now, whether that is, let me put my glasses on for a minute, just make sure I haven't gone out of focus. Okay, whether that's that you create a social environment first, or you create an open space environment where people just hang out together first, or maybe prior to a formal meeting, you just go into a more relaxed meeting first and you set that up, and then you shift to the more formal environment. Something has to happen where the team feel comfortable with each other. There's a trust built up, and that connection can be to do with sport, socially, families, a common interest, whatever you feel is appropriate for your team. So think about what you can do to create a connection with people, not so much from a work perspective, but from a human interaction perspective. What are their values? What do they each aspire to have in their lives? Or what do they feel about the world? How can you find a way to get that connection with them? That's really important. And then it shifts to authenticity, meaning that in order for trust to be built up, part of the modeling process is that you as an individual have to say, right, what do I need to do to show up as me, and to explain that I want them to be authentic. If one person's quite direct, that's okay. There's no point in them trying not to be direct, but everyone needs to know that. Hey, Bill, he's straight up. You speak to Bill, you're going to get it straight down the line, no BS. Simon, he's a little bit sensitive, and you say to Simon, it's okay. His sensitivity is a positive thing. He might have more of an emotional sensitivity, and when he reacts to things, it comes from that place. And it might not be being critical about somebody else in the team, but everybody needs to trust that. Sarah, Sarah might be somebody who's a real good connector, and she really likes to listen and take the time, and maybe a bit slower in the way she communicates or explains or listens to somebody. And so we've got to understand that about her. So the minute you start to create that authenticity and each person's able to come to the table and being themselves, everything changes. Because now you've got trust. I don't have to be anything different to who I am. And I trust that my team leader, my boss, my whoever it is going to be able to be that way with me, and I can be that way with them. And of course, that doesn't happen in a lot of leadership. A lot of people drive their business or manage through fear, through dictatorship, which creates a completely different type of team, and you certainly don't get authentic trust. And there's a difference, yeah? And then, of course, finally, it's just creating that rapport and building and continuing that rapport with people. And there's a whole bunch of skills around rapport that you hang out with me, watch some of my stuff, possibly go through any of my programs, whatever. You'll find that we talk a lot about all of these elements, but rapport is one of the big ones. Okay, good. So that's it. Go back and look at those things and think about what you're doing right now and what you're not doing, and maybe start to integrate these in. And remember to follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram. It's Dr. O signing out. Happy team building and happy communication, happy trust building.